6-shot 30-year revolver, and then we switched over to 9mm to Glocks. Facing out in the street at the time, and Neil's completely correct to have brought that out. You know, we were facing that threat, and this is in the early 90s, and he was even mentioning back in the 80s as well. And now you're dealing with a situation where people are walking around with whether it be AR-15s or some other type of sniper rifle, with a large capacity magazine. And when you get someone who's clearly deranged and committing for all practical purposes, this is a terrorist act. This is a mass shooting. This is a terrorist act committed by a crackpot walking around with a lot of firepower, and this is what the cops have to deal with. So I understand the apprehension of people saying, well, the police shouldn't be militarized, they shouldn't have these military-style weapons, but when you're dealing with individuals like this who already have them, and now are picking off cops like it's for free, and also endangering the public at large. You have to be able to match what people are able to get their hands on.
You're saying a crackpot, but this, I mean, to me, as a layperson, this seems extremely planned. As one of the guests said, it appears he was trying to draw officers in order to injure officers. And by the way, our condolences to all of these officers and their families tonight. Can you imagine what they're dealing with this evening? You said, well, who was it?
You can be smart and still be crazy. I mean, think of the mental, the mental place where this person is in, that they feel the need to start picking off police officers. As enraged as they may have been by events, or we don't know what drove them to do this. I find it hard to believe that it's a coincidence, that it's more of a correlation. But someone that's walking around feeling the need to assassinate police officers is someone who's
idea, I think, is really important, but probably a discussion for another day. But it totally tips over into the gun debate with this idea of having to match firepower for whatever people could have on the street. Because what we are seeing is that there are a lot more of these types of weapons, and this is where I think a lot of minds can meet. We want our police officers to be safe, we want our communities to be safe, and the more of these sorts of weapons out there, the more police have to arm up to, in fact, defend themselves against those types of weapons. I think, again, we don't know about this. I think this is a discussion for another day, but I think we need to put a pin in it, because we have to come back to this discussion about the idea that people, more and more people are in open carry states. They can carry
somebody suddenly gets
Police
fucking
don't know
shot.
if the
Gotta
person who
start
has the weapon
restricting them
out
rights.
in the open is just a protester or not, and that puts them in a very kind of awkward position of having to just kind of make guesses about things, and that's not what we want as a society.
And Areva Martin, how much more firepower, where does it end? Go ahead, Areva.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think that point is illustrated by one of the witnesses on the phone that says they saw a man who we now know was a person of interest, probably not the shooter, but he was a man walking around with a rifle, and they didn't know if that was normal or not. That's scary to me as a parent. That's scary to me as an American, as a woman, as an African-American woman, that I could be in a city at a protest and someone is walking around with a high-powered assault rifle, and yet I don't know if that's okay. Because we're telling people, if you see something, say something. If you see something, do something. But people are confused. They don't know if that was a legitimate place for him to be with that gun or not. So I wonder how many other people may have seen someone at this protest with a gun and they didn't contact law enforcement because they didn't know if that person had the right in this open carry state to have that gun. That's a really scary, I think, proposition, an issue we have to deal with in this country, and it goes right to that gun issue that is so divisive.
Open carry just started in January in Texas, so this is a new phenomenon for all of the citizens there as to whether or not, if you see somebody with a weapon, do you say somthing or not? Because it's a new phenomenon.
This isn't a law-abiding
We'll get into
citizen.
the gun debate later, and as Charles
is a straight-up
brightly
nut job
and
that went out
eloquently
and
pointed
killed
out,
some
that's
fucking
maybe a
cops.
discussion for another day. Right now, our thoughts and prayers and our hearts go out to the victims this evening, and that's the 11 officers who were shot, and of course the 4 police officers who were killed, and their family and friends, and all of their brethren and comrades around the country who are tonight, I'm sure, watching this in fear, and they're scared and sad and saddened by it. And Neil Franklin brought up the point earlier. It was with a shaky, cracking voice, saying it just reminds him of officers and friends who he has lost you know, for people who, you know, shoot and kill police officers. Neil?
Yeah, so this whole gun debate is for another day, but also the militarization piece. You know, yes, we need these pieces of equipment in law enforcement. What's really important is when we deploy them, when they're available, the image that we portray, how we use them, you know, again, not using them when there are nonviolent protests, not having them out in the open, but they should be readily available, and the people who are assigned to use them properly trained with very strict protocol about when and how they can use them for different situations. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in this country, again, and I'm going to repeat this again, with violence in general.
Can I ask you something,
Why
Neil?
people do the things that they do. Yes.
Yeah, so Ishmael De Jesus, who is one of the eyewitnesses who took the videotape, said, I think he said this was terrorism, right? Tom, you said that this was a terrorist act, Tom Vernon.
It's a
Neil,
mass
do you
shooting.
think it's terrorism?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a form of terrorism because it's something that causes us, it's an act of a person or people, it is causing us to change our way of life, how we live, how we go about our daily business. And right now, I guarantee you there are a lot of people watching this unfold who've been watching it for the past couple of hours. They're going to change the way they conduct business on a daily basis, how they go about their lives. So whether it's, you know, despite the intent, whether it's terrorism from, you know, ISIS, or whether it's terrorism from one of our homegrown groups or organizations, or where it's terrorism from one individual, it's terrorism. It's causing us to alter our way of life and freedoms in this country.
Anthony May, same question.
Don't agree with that.
Bro, my God.
Anthony May, are you there?
And no one agency can agree on what is a
Anthony, can you start over? We missed
I'm
the
here.
first part of your
Yeah, can you hear
response. Yeah, we can hear
Hold
you
on.
now. We missed the first part of your response.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the problem with terrorism, there are so many definitions of the term terrorism, and different agencies use different definitions, but clearly, this act is not a random somebody that just got upset a few hours ago and decided to go in downtown Dallas and start shooting. This is something that was
Oh, no, this is
pre-planned.
definitely planned.
Equipment was purchased for this, and they went out to create as much, we'll just use the term terror, as they can. And our police officers, they're doing their job in an active shooter situation. They're not standing around waiting for SWAT, as you saw those other officers engaged with their handgun going after a guy with a long gun. I mean, that's like taking a knife to a gunfight in this particular manner. Terrorized now. And what people need to understand, not all terrorism comes from the Arab nations or ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Boko Haram or any of those. You know, we have a lot of terrorist groups that are active in the United States that have the ability to do what is happening here tonight in Dallas.
I have some new information to report as we continue to watch the situation unfolding in Dallas, and this new video that, two different videos that have come into CNN. So the FBI and local authorities responded, and this is according to our justice correspondent, Evan Perez. The FBI and local authorities responded to a possible hostage situation at the El Centro Community College in Dallas. That's according to a law enforcement official. The FBI responded at the request of Dallas police. Police have cleared the Omni Hotel. There are reports that there was a gunman holdup, but that appears not to be true. Also, I need to tell you that they have restricted and stopped. The FAA says that it has issued a temporary flight restriction order over downtown Dallas, over that area where the shooting occurred. Now I want to bring in Sarah Mervash from the Dallas Morning News. She is on the phone. Sarah, what information do you have for us?
So things have calmed down a lot here in downtown Dallas. As of a few hours ago, tons of police and protesters were on the scene. I witnessed one person get arrested. It was not, but things have calmed down significantly. There's still one, as far as I can see, at least one officer in the parking garage where the alleged suspects were shooting from. He's up on maybe like the 5th or 6th floor at this point looking down, but otherwise the streets right now have calmed down.
So do you know anything about other suspects? Because they were saying that they had one suspect in custody. They had one person of interest in custody, but they feared that there could be more people involved. Have you heard anything about that, Sarah?
So I have not personally confirmed anything. I know there was some sort of car chase on Interstate 35 where there was some sort of package, and it sounded like there was another suspect there, but I have not personally confirmed that. And in terms of the person of interest, it sounded like there was a suspect who was cornered, and that was one person, and there was a separate person of interest who I've talked to people who said that person was in the squad with them marching, and he was not a shooter, according to the protesters themselves.
Yes. So, yes, that person is, excuse me, was a person of interest. They don't believe he was involved in it. And as far as you said, the I-35, what happened with that is that they said they witnessed someone throwing a bag into a Mercedes and then speeding off. They chased him down the interstate, and they are questioning two persons of interest in that. So, Sarah, you said it has calmed down, but it's still not back to normal.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, this is the most crowded I've seen downtown in the 4 years that I've lived here at this time of night. And people, I mean, witnesses and just onlookers, people are out walking their dogs to see what's going on. And I would just talk to a mother and son who witnessed the shooting. And the son is a 16-year-old black man and black boy. And he had his hand, he's wearing patriotic gear, and he had his hands up as the cops drove by just to be safe.
Yeah. Have you been able, Sarah, to, excuse me, to look at any of the video coming in, because there's lots of video, it appears, of the suspect, or at least one of the suspects, shooting and possibly being apprehended coming in to us, and I'm sure to other news sources.
So as I am on the scene, I don't have the same access as you do. I interviewed one of the marchers who took a Facebook Live video of the shooting itself, and I have seen that.
Michael Kevin?
I have not. I'm sorry?
Was it Michael Kevin?
Michael Batista?
Yeah, okay. Well, that's a different... Same person. Go ahead.
And so he witnessed what he said was the first officer go down, and he saw that officer being dragged into a car. The officer could not move or get up on his own.
All right. Sarah Mervosh from the Dallas Morning News joining us. Sarah, thank you very much. And Sarah is referring to the video that you're seeing on your screen right now, shot by this man, Michael Kevin, on Facebook. Again, he witnessed a shooting. It appears to be the same shooting of the officer from a different angle as Ishmael DeJesus, who is in a hotel in the area, who shot the video of this from a higher angle from his balcony. He said he came out just around 10 p.m. Eastern time because he heard shots, pulled out his camera, and saw an SUV that was parked and a man who was shooting randomly into an intersection. And then police, at least one officer, engaged him, and then he turned around and started shooting the officer, and then eventually ended up firing at the officer execution style. And then the officer laying on the ground. And as Sarah Mervosh from the Dallas Morning News is reporting, one person is saying that they quickly put the police officer into a squad car and rushed him off to a hospital. And again, we believe it's one of the officers who died, but not exactly sure. What we do know at this point, 4 Dallas police officers are dead, 11 shot in a chaotic scene happening in the business district of Dallas tonight, right during a protest that initially was peaceful. We're staying on the air for you this evening because we're awaiting a news conference and an update from Dallas police at any moment. They gave one just a couple of hours ago, led by the chief, David Brown, and at that point, the information was a bit different. There weren't as many officers who had died then. And the number of injured was just one shy. They also told us in that press conference that there was one civilian who had been injured in all of this as well. There were several officers who were still being treated and still in critical condition, but hopefully the number of injured and killed will not go up this evening. And as I want to say as often and as vehemently as possible, that our thoughts and prayers go out to the officers and their families and their colleagues and friends involved in all of this. Police officers around the country are watching this and are saddened by it and are also frightened. As some of our guests have pointed out this evening, that we are now living in a culture of fear of police officers who are being shot by citizens, and a culture of fear from citizens who are in fear of being shot by police officers, and also people who are in fear of walking down their own streets but becoming victims of random violence as well. Charles Blow is here with me, CNN political commentator and op-ed columnist. Neil Franklin, a retired Maryland State police officer. Police Major is here. Tom Verney is a retired New York City police detective. And Areva Martin is the attorney and women's rights advocate. Areva, talk to me about the culture of fear. That is indeed one of the truest things said this evening. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I think we can't overemphasize that. Don, we started ago talking about the police shootings in Baton Rouge and in Minnesota, and we were going to talk about the woman, the courageous woman, the fiance, and that woman, the fiance, and her little girl in the back seat. And now to look at the violence on the video that we've been watching for the last hour of this police officer being shot and the shootout between the police officer and the suspect. This violence is not something that's abstract. It's not something that is removed from us. It's something that we all witness on a daily basis through these types of videos. And it's chilling. It's having a traumatic impact on us, not just our kids, but all of us. And I think that's what I'm just sitting here almost just numb, watching this violence play out as we started the couple of hours talking about horrific murders of citizens, and we're ending 3 hours talking about 4 dead police officers. It's just mind-boggling, Don.
And as you can see that, Areva and our audience, I want to say on the screen, we're awaiting a news conference from the Dallas Police Department. Charles Blow, where do we go from here? Because this is not a world that I want to live in.
Right, and you know, a couple of the guests before were talking about terror and how you define it.
Live in a world.
But I think we have to, as
Come
a
on,
society,
there's always been violence.
They say, who among us at this point is not living with some level of ambient terror, right? That if the police officers feel like they are in fear of their lives when they in cases like this, which are obviously, okay, go ahead.
Continue.
Which are obviously terror, but also just encounters with individual citizens, but also the citizens will feel like that.
Let's go to the press conference now in Dallas.
Keep you updated with as much information as we have real time, and that's the purpose of this press conference. I'll make a couple of comments after Chief Brown, and then we'll take a couple of questions, and then you probably won't hear from us in person until in the morning again. We will be sending information out as we get it online. I do want to say that I've heard from both the White House and the governor's office extending their help, and we're sure going to be able to use some help from the governor's office. And we've got so many police officers out tonight that we want to make sure that they're backfilled in the right way. But there's news to be given to you, and I'll let the chief talk about that.
Currently, we are in negotiations with a suspect involved in these shootings at the garage of El Centro in downtown Dallas. This suspect we're negotiating with for the last 45 minutes has been exchanging gunfire with us and not being very cooperative in the negotiations. Before I came here, I asked for plans to end this standoff, and as soon as I'm done here, I'll be presented with those plans. In addition to this second floor garage, as we recap the previous press release. We have in custody a female who was in the same area of the El Centro garage, and we followed a Mercedes with two suspects who had camouflage bags, who officers end up stopping on traffic in the Oak Cliff area near Polk and 67, and they are in custody and being interviewed. The suspect that we are negotiating with that has exchanged gunfire with us over the last 45 minutes has told our negotiators that the end is coming and he's going to hurt and kill more of us, meaning law enforcement, and that there are bombs all over the place in this garage and in downtown. So we are being very careful in our tactics so that we don't injure or put any of our officers in harm's way, including the citizens of Dallas, as we negotiate further. We still don't have a complete comfort level that we have all the suspects. So we will continue a very, very rigorous investigation and search of downtown. We're likely to be working throughout the early morning hours of Friday until we are satisfied that all suspects have been captured and have an opportunity to be interviewed so that we can fully understand what's motivated this attack on our officers. As I mentioned in the press release before we came out, one of our officers who was in surgery that we had hopes would survive passed, bringing the total count of officers passed away to 4, 3 Dallas police officers and 1 DART officer. We're continuing to ask for the public's prayers and support and encouragement. But I could just tell you, I've never been more proud of a police officer and being a part of this great noble profession. Seeing the courage, the professionalism, and just the grit to stay on scene in an area looking for suspects, knowing that we are vulnerable. We don't know where they are, and our downtown is very large with a lot of high buildings. And some of the stories I've heard from officers talking about what happened, running toward gunfire to help the injured officers, to get them transported to the hospital by patrol car, not having the time to wait for an ambulance, and just there's so many stories of great courage. So we continue to fight the good fight to bring this to a conclusion, but it's still a very tenuous situation, and we, again, as soon as the mayor's done, we'll take additional questions from you, then we'll have to be leaving. Thanks.
Thank you. Concerning what is going to happen tomorrow morning, this is still an active crime scene, and we are determining right now how big that crime scene is. There are many people that work in the downtown area. We asked them to stay away from that crime scene. Now, how are you going to know where it is? We're going to post it on DallasCityNews.net. And you can check with your buildings that you work in and make sure that those buildings are open. We've got to support our police force and do their job to make sure we get to the bottom and the root cause of all of this. So please make it easy for the police force and other citizens to check your traffic routes in the morning before you come in. I want to add that it is a heartbreaking morning to lose our citizens. To say that our police officers put their life on the line every day is no hyperbole, ladies and gentlemen. City, we as a country must come together, lock arms, and heal the wounds that we all feel from time to time. Words matter. Leadership matters at this time. I'm proud of our chief. With that, we'll take questions.
Is this someone local? What brought this person to Dallas?
At this point, we don't have a lot of cooperation to find those answers, but we will be continuing our interrogation of the people we have in custody. We just are not getting the cooperation we'd like to know that answer of why, the motivation, who they are. But our detectives are diligently interviewing and interrogating these people, and we'll find it out and share it with you as soon as we have it.
So, Chief, it's fair to say that you're talking about 4 people, 1 in the garage, 2 in the car, and the other one was in the garage. You believe they were all working together at this point?
That's our assumption now, and working together with rifles, triangulated at elevated positions in different points in the downtown area where the march ended up going, the route of the march. And so there had to be some speculation from us that there's some knowledge of the route where you'd be, because how would you know to post up there? And so we're leaving every motive on the table of how this happened and why it happened, but we're waiting for the suspects to break and let us know what they're doing.
But it's clear you have a lot of resources at your disposal. Were these people on anyone's radar? You had the FBI here, I know. You have a lot of other agencies.
We were monitoring social media, and we had attended many of the planning meetings for the protest group, and we have yet to determine whether or not there was some complicity with the planning of this, but we'll be pursuing that.
And that takes me to my next question. Do you know if they were a part of the rally or were posted up in that garage the whole time?
That's yet to be determined. Yes.
Last question.
This week there was a person that was on Facebook making threats and advocating the shooting of Dallas police officers. Did you guys take a look at that, and is that person involved in any way?
Yet to be determined. There's a lot of things on social media that get posted that we monitor and follow up on. Whether or not there's a connection to that post with any of these suspects, we have yet to determine that, but we will be pursuing any of that to a connection that we can prove and charge a person with.
The chief and I have some business. He's got to make some tough calls, and he and I are going to be going to the hospitals right now, and it's important for us to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our sympathies, Chief.
Okay, that was a police news conference just being wrapped up just a short time ago with the police chief, David Brown, and also with Mayor Mike Rawlings giving us some new information, also the mayor being very emotional. Let me just give you the readout of what happened here. What they're saying is that they are still now trying to engaging with a suspect who is in a garage there, and he is still shooting with them, so there's a standoff. They say he is in a second story, a 2-story garage, still in a standoff with police. They're still shooting. There's been gunfire exchanged. They're also telling us that they have 3 people in custody. One of them is a female. The other 2 people came from the car we saw on the interstate just earlier, where there was where we saw all of the police cars, flashing lights, and what have you on the interstate, and there was somewhat of a chase. According to the mayor and to the police chief there, the suspects are not cooperating. They said they don't know who the person is in the garage. They're not giving up any information. They're not being very cooperative. They're also saying that the person in the garage saying the end is coming. They're going to hurt more of us, meaning hurt more police officers, law enforcement officers. Said that there were bombs that were placed all over the place. They don't know where the bombs are being placed. They said that basically almost the entire downtown is an active crime scene, and they don't know how big the scene is, and they don't know who is going to be able to get to their place of business tomorrow, their work tomorrow. And if they want to find out, they need to go to DallasCityNews.net to find out if you can even get to your job tomorrow. The mayor said in a very, very poignant moment during the press conference, with his voice cracking, that his heart was a heartbreaking morning for Dallas. He said, it is not just hyperbole to say that officers put their lives on the line every day. It is a reality. and I second that emotion with him. Again, they don't know who the suspect is, why he's doing it, not cooperating. He said that they were, though, these suspects, he believes, working together in a triangulated areas of downtown through elevated areas as well, targeted and leading us to believe that this had been planned, and it appears to have been planned in a coordinated fashion. In order to do this, it would have to be planned over a period of time. So we're being very careful, although this did happen when the protests were going on. As Neil Franklin, our retired Maryland State Police major, has pointed out, we need to be careful about that because we don't know if it is indeed involved. It happened during the protest, but in order to coordinate something in that amount of time it just seems like it was a short period of time. It could be, but we don't know at this point. The police chief also saying that 4 officers are dead. They were hoping that one of them would pull through. He was in critical condition, but they were hoping that one would pull through. 4 dead. 3 of them are Dallas police officers. 1 of them is a DART officer, which is a Dallas area rapid transit officer. 11 people, 11 police officers total shot, and then 1 civilian. And he said that he's asking for prayers, for people to pray, and for the citizens of Dallas, basically to be vigilant. And what I'm reading into that is he's saying maybe you should think about not going to work tomorrow if you work in downtown Dallas. And here's what's interesting, why. They don't know how long this operation is going to go on because they're still in negotiations, in a standoff with 1 suspect, and they are not confident that they have all the suspects in custody at this point. Yep. This is unbelievable.
And it also seems, based on what he was saying, that the people that they do have in custody are not all that willing to cooperate. So that is extremely unnerving that these people are already in custody and that they're not, forthcoming with their information to cooperate with the police. I would absolutely, advise people who work in the downtown Dallas area, if you could take tomorrow off, tomorrow might be a good day to take off. The police are going to have a unbelievable investigation on their hands. We don't know the scale of what has taken place here tonight. We don't know how many actors are involved. So until the police feel confident that they've rounded up all the people that they had needed to round up, that people need to be extremely cautious. If the people who live in the downtown area see something that's out of the ordinary for the area that they live in or even work in, for the overnight people, they need to report that immediately just to make sure that all the bases are covered, to make sure that every single person that possibly is involved gets apprehended. And my condolences to the families of the officers, and kudos to the chief. He's got a tremendous, unbelievable scenario that's unfolding by the minute, which I'm sure they had not planned on when they started off at an active rally protest.
I just wanted to say one of the things that the chief said was he talked about the fact that he believes, or at least at this point they believe, the shooters may have had knowledge about the route of the protest because of where they were posted throughout the route. Right. And he also said that police were involved in the planning of this rally. So I just hope that to the extent anyone involved with the planning of what was going to be this incredibly powerful yet peaceful protest, if they have any information, that they come forward, that they give that information to the police. Because what I know about the protesters that have been protesting the shootings of African-American men by police is that they want to protest in a peaceful way. They have been, for the most part, peaceful. They've wanted to lift and raise the issue of police shootings, but not in any way that will cause any harm or damage or injury, and definitely not death of police officers. So I hope anyone that was involved in the planning of this rally that may have information, that they cooperate fully with the police.
Go ahead, Charles.
Right, and there's 2 things that the chief said that I found really fascinating. One was, the idea that he's been told by at least one of the suspects that they have bombs planted all around downtown. Now, that may just be bluster, However, if turns out to be true, it kind of bolsters this argument that this is not something that sprang up in the last minute, in the last 24, 36 hours. You know, the building of, the transporting of explosives is not something you do in the last minute. The second thing is kind of something that he actually didn't say, which is whether or not they had ID on them, whether or not the truck that the guy got out of was registered, which would lead you at least to know whether or not these were local people or these were some people from somewhere else. And one thing that he did not say, which I think a lot of America is very interested and keen to know at this point, was in the conversation that at least the limited conversation they've had so far, was whether or not they associated themselves in any way with those protests. Right. The little bit of information that he gave, he may not know very much, but the little bit he gave did not give any indication so far that that was an association that the people who the suspects were willing to make at this point.
Neil Franklin, I hear you saying yes, but also people are also pointing out to me, said it was, you know, it was a woman and then there were 2 other men in custody, but did not give any other information about ethnicity or anything like that.
Yeah, I found that very interesting as well. And of course, they're going to ID these people very quickly, and they have ways they can do that without their cooperation. But something that still sticks in my mind is what's the significance of Dallas when there hasn't been, you know, none of these incidents that we initially started the show about, with the shooting in Baton Rouge and, you know, at the hands of police in Missouri. What's the significance of Dallas? You know, why pick this protest here in Dallas unless this group of the individuals are based in Dallas, which is it's probably likely because, again, the transporting of these weapons and explosives, if that is in fact the case.
Knowledge of the city, knowledge of the routes.
Knowledge of a whole lot of knowledge, and obviously they're not flying in by plane from either up north or Baton Rouge. You know, I mean, I guess driving in from Louisiana, I guess you could do that in a relatively short period of time. But again, what's the significance of Dallas? Why not Baton Rouge? Protests are occurring there. You know, why not Missouri? Protests are occurring there.
Minneapolis.
So that's sticking with me as well.
Yeah, and why not, you know, Minneapolis, where the shooting happened, you know, just overnight that we were reporting. So you bring up a very good point. But, you know, I did find it interesting, the details that they did give and the details that they did not give. And I'm sure doing it on purpose because of investigative techniques, correct?
Yeah, exactly. You can't show all your cards. I mean, 'cause this is still clearly an active investigation. So there's going to be some things that they're going to want to put out there, and there's going to be some things. And look, they're in an active negotiation right now with a shooter. So
might we, you know, I'm just that it's some
by
sort of
active
terrorist
he
group
means the shooter shooting at the cops.
It could be.
And
I mean,
the
look at the
cops
San
aren't
Bernardino
moving
shooters. You know,
in
these
to
people
say
were
that
well
there's
armed. They
bombs.
planned to do certain things, and then you know, it happened to be during a holiday party. So was that a coincidence? Was that a correlation? That was the time that they chose. This was a clear, great opportunity for a person or a group of people to go out and use the armament that they clearly have to go out and cause all kinds of chaos, but specifically targeting the police. You know, the fact that there was a bystander that was shot, you know, within proximity of the police, you know, if that was an unfortunate shot that they meant to shoot the police and missed, it's just disturbing across the board. You know, I mentioned before to this, you know, my condolences to the Sterling family and the Castile family as we started off this broadcast, that each of these incidents that someone dies as a result of their interaction with the police absolutely should be investigated to the fullest extent to find out what was the cause of why things ended up the way they did. Now, Baton Rouge is a completely separate situation from what happened in Minneapolis or in Falcon Heights, and they have to be, you know, investigated and brought to their make our judgments based on the merits of each individual case. Now, if race has something to do with either of those or both, that's a serious problem. You know, the president made a statement today that we need to do better. We can do better as a country. This is clearly not doing better. So regardless of whether or not these people were upset by what happened in Baton Rouge, what happened in Minneapolis, as we all are disturbed by what happened there, and things have to be changed to make sure, to the best of our ability, if that doesn't happen again, this is not the answer.
Yeah.
Just complete and utter chaos in a major city or anywhere for that matter.
I don't think that the people who, this is just me, the people who did this, who perpetrated this act, were listening to the president today. I think they were
take his message.
I think that they were out planning this. But
so
Neil,
the president comes out with another statement to make sure that he covers everybody.
I don't think, Don, that the people that did this either are part of the peaceful protesters that we've seen around the country who just want to raise the issue of police brutality. This is not the modus operandi of the typical protesters that we've seen.
It does seem odd. I mean, we don't know, but it does seem odd. But Neil, go ahead. What were you saying? What are you saying?
No, I agree 100%. I doubt it very seriously if they're part of the protest. You know, this from my experience, this is an independent with their own agenda. And it's something that, again, that the police need to get a quick handle on. They are still trying to apprehend in the garage. I really doubt it if they're the only ones. So again, I mentioned earlier about the significance of cell phones. I guarantee you cell phones had to be used to coordinate this attack. So hopefully the police have the cell phones that would have been used and can quickly access them to find out who else may be
Neil,
involved. Or
when I was talking to Tom about a terrorist group, you were
the burner phones
in the
that
background.
they
Why
probably should be using. They planned this attack and coordinated this attack.
Well, we have again we just have a number of homegrown terrorist groups in this country. We pay a whole lot of attention to our Muslim terrorist groups from ISIS and Al-Qaeda, but you know, we've got a number of groups here in this country that are, you know, up to terrorizing groups of people within our own borders. And I don't know what the FBI is doing behind the scenes and other law enforcement groups, but we still need to make sure that we have a really good handle on those particular groups as well.
Mm-hmm. You know, I asked you know, Charles Blow this earlier. I don't want to live in fear like this. Where do we go to? Ariva, what do we do from here? What do we do?
Don't be a pussy-ass bitch and live in fear.
I think we all have to go home and kiss our loved ones. We have to say some prayers, and then we have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. I think there are solutions to these problems. I think we saw efforts being made in the Congress a couple of weeks ago around this whole issue of guns and what types of guns people should be allowed to have and who should be allowed to have them. I think the answers are here in front of us, Don. It's just a question of our will and our courage to face some of these really difficult, complex issues. But I think we can solve them. I'm with the president. We can do better.
Okay, so we can do better. You know, every time there is a mass shooting, everyone says this will change it. You know, you have 20-some kids who die at a school. You have 9 people who die in a church. You have terrorist acts that happen all over the country, and everyone says, oh, you know, this will change it. But none of these acts seem to change anything, Charles.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the depressing thing about
it? Is, right?
about the modern
But it's the reality of it.
You know,
is this the final one?
Nutty. It is not us.
You ask yourself how much blood has to be spilled and to change your mind, and it seems like we haven't reached that point
for
yet.
People to at least work together.
Well, working together is also changing some minds, right? There are some minds that just refuse to be changed on these particular kinds of issues, and I think, you know, we have to figure out who is this? Where did their weaponry come from? How did they obtain it? Was it legal, illegal, whatever? But at the end of the day, we know this for a fact. A group of people have used a certain sorts of weapons, at least some of these weapons, to terrorize and shoot 11 cops, kill 4 of them in a major American city. That's us. Yeah. That's not separate from us. That's not separate from our decisions about, you know, whether or not we want to have an intellectual debate around guns. No, these are the choices that we are making if, in fact, they have, you know, depending on how they obtain those weapons. That's something we have to wrestle with as a country.
And we're wrestling with a whole lot today. I mean, what a day it was. I mean, we went to bed with the shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my hometown. We woke up with the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, all caught live, you know, on tape. And then we end the day and begin the morning with this, with 11 police officers shot, 4 dead in Dallas. And police and city leaders calling for calm and saying this, which is true, to say that police officers put their lives on the line is not hyperbole, it is a reality. We have to figure out how we get a grip on all of this, on police violence, on citizen violence, on all of this, and come together as a country, as the president said so eloquently today. I want you to take a look as we are about to go off the air, this broadcast at least, to the front page of the Dallas Morning News. The headline is Ambush, with a photo of a grief-stricken Dallas Transit police officer, the hospital where some of the wounded officers were taken. Make sure you stay with CNN Overnight for the latest on this. I'm Don Lemon. Our coverage continues right now with John Voss and Aisha Sisay. Good morning.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to our viewers in the United States and all around the world. I'm John Voss.
And I'm Aisha Sisay. Breaking news out of Dallas, Texas.
4 officers have been shot dead and at least 2 snipers fired from an elevated position during a peaceful protest.
In total, 11 officers were shot and at least 1 civilian was wounded. As well, police have 3 people in custody, including a woman. This is what it sounded like from a nearby apartment.
Really armed to the teeth. Oh my God. This is not one person with a. This is a person with a big mouth. Few mouth.
Oh my God. They can't be.
One suspect is now cornered in a parking garage, and this is how the police chief described the ongoing negotiations.
Currently, we are in negotiations with a suspect involved in these shootings at the garage of El Centro in downtown Dallas. This suspect we're negotiating with for the last 45 minutes have been exchanging gunfire with us and not being very cooperative in the negotiations. Before I came here, I asked for plans to end this standoff. And as soon as I'm done here, I'll be presented with those plans. In addition to this second floor garage, as we recap the previous press release, we have in custody a female who was in the same area of the El Centro garage, and we followed a Mercedes with 2 suspects who had camouflage bags, who officers end up stopping on traffic in the Oak Cliff area near Polk and 67. And they are in custody and being interviewed. Exchanged gunfire with us over the last 45 minutes. Has told our negotiators that the end is coming and he's going to hurt and kill more of us, meaning law enforcement, and that there are bombs all over the place in this garage and in downtown. So we are being very careful in our tactics so that we don't injure or put any of our officers in harm's way, including the citizens of Dallas, as we negotiate further. We still don't have a complete comfort level that we have all the suspects. So we will continue a very, very rigorous investigation and search of downtown. We're likely to be working throughout the early morning hours of Friday until we are satisfied that all suspects have been captured and have an opportunity to be interviewed so that we can fully understand what's motivated this attack on our officers.
That is the scene right now in Dallas as the police chief was talking, but this was the moment at the end of a peaceful protest when the gunfire erupted. Hundreds had turned out to demonstrate the police shooting of 2 African-American men earlier this week. And this video shows the chaos on the ground as the bullets started firing.
Yeah, the police also say a bomb squad has secured a suspicious package earlier on, but you just heard from the police chief just a short time ago that they are still making searches in and around downtown after this cornered suspect said that they had planted bombs
everywhere. In his words, yeah.
So here's a look at the front page of Friday's Dallas Morning News. We want to show you this.
The headline reads ambush, along with a powerful photograph of a woman comforting a police officer after the shootings. Ashley Landis is a photographer for the Dallas Morning News. She joins us now on the line. Ashley, downtown Dallas is now considered a massive crime scene. What's happening there right now?
Right now, hello, by the way. Right now, everything is pretty in order. I think everybody, or the police are still sweeping the city. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Most of the people have gone home, figured out ways to go home, but of course there are tons and tons of vehicles that are stranded. So a lot of people, it's taken quite a while for everyone to clear out.
So Ashley,
Let's see what this guy's talking about. That's it, huh? Well, people, that was definitely some fucked up shit. Who knows what's gonna go on? What's gonna happen? Either way it goes, it's tragic. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.